Stars FC and your Stumptown AC. Please welcome the officials for this evening's match. The referee is Nicole Green. The assistant referees are Marcus Moss and Ed Waddell. And the fourth official is Hitchum Elbariki. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
It's a beautiful evening in Matthews, North Carolina for the final match day of the NISA season on the 11 Sports Network. Hello everyone, welcome to the Sportsplex at Matthews. Alongside Robert Morrison, I'm Sam Goldfarb, thrilled to bring you the action tonight between Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC. Stumptown comes into this one on fire. They're 5 matches unbeaten. They've won 2 on the spin, and they're fresh off a big-time 3-1 victory over 1904 FC on Tuesday. We were there for that one. Scored early, did get pegged back from a spectacular free kick, but ultimately took control off a key mistake in the 13th minute, and in the 45th, polished things off. And Robert, I want to ask you about this. Over this 5-match span where Stumptown has not lost, what is the most impressive thing that's really stuck out to you and really allowed them to go on this run?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is scoring goals when the opportunities have come. When we talked about this at the beginning of the season, take advantage of the opportunities when they're given to you. And I think Tuesday night was just everything kind of coming together. The attack has been moving forward more cleanly, more crisply, and the explosion of goals on Tuesday night was about finally finding the opportunity to turn those chances into goals, and I think that's huge for this Stumptown team.
Stumptown, of course, sitting third in NISA, facing a team trending in the opposite direction. Michigan Stars FC in 9th place in the cellar. They're winless in their last 6, and they've lost their last 3. They just fell 3-1 to Maryland Bobcats FC. It was a close match at halftime, but allowed 3 unanswered in 12 minutes and scored a consolation goal in the 89th. And Robert, coming into tonight, they've got a tall order, and a Stumptown team that we've talked about is playing very well, has found their footing attacking-wise. What do Michigan Stars FC need to do tonight to come out of here with a result?
Well, they got to find a way to stop Stumptown from putting the ball in the back of the net, which, maybe seems like an oversimplification, right? Stop the other team from scoring goals, I know. But it's been their Achilles heel throughout much of the season. Mentioned the last game against Maryland, 3 goals there. The game before that, 2 to the LA Force. it's been a little bit of a rough go for them in terms of keeping clean sheets. They've only managed one all season in league play, and it's just they haven't been scoring goals when they've needed to. Only 5 on league play coming into tonight, and they're allowing too many goals. And if they want to have a chance tonight, they're going to have to keep Stumptown's attack at bay.
Michigan Stars FC, of course, 9 goals conceded in 6 NISA spring matches played. We're just about set to get things underway here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, better known now as the Stumplex if you follow Stumptown AC on Twitter. Stumptown's lineup is as follows: Kevin Gonzalez in goal, Reese Williams and Robert Hines the fullbacks, Frankie Martinez and Jacob Krim are the center backs. Holding midfielders, Dylan Greenberg, Giovanni Bejarano Navia, the attacking midfield trio of Travis Ward, Luis Garcia Sosa, and Alex McGrath. And up top, Giovanni Ramos Godoy. We're underway here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Hines going to carry things forward for Stumptown early. Can't quite find Bejarano Navia and Michigan Stars FC Fields. Their lineup for them is Tatenda Mukaruva in goal on the back three, as that's claimed by Reese Williams. Back 3 is Devon Amumensa, Joseph Adu, and Dakota Lobsiger. Carl Schneider and James Abraham are the wingbacks. Andres Chalbud, Zachary Reynolds, Stephen Yunkai, and Bernardo Mahano are the attacking midfielders. And up top is Kyle Newell, the leading goal scorer with 3 goals and 3 assists. Fielded early here by Michigan Stars, across whipped in. Dealt with nervily by Gonzalez, but ultimately corralled. A bit surprising given Gonzalez's repertoire this season.
Yeah, that was a little bit shaky from Stumptown in both ways. Frankie Martinez with a little bit of an awkward moment putting the ball out of play, leading to Michigan Stars having it deep in their own territory, and a little bit awkward there from Gonzalez, but he figured it out.
Yeah, no real trouble caused there by Newell or Yunkai. If they were closer, maybe you see something else. An interesting setup here early, Robert. It seems like Yunkai and Mahano are pushed further ahead than Newell at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the flow of this looks like, and the Michigan obviously looking to score goals, as we talked about at the beginning. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that, and see how much they want to push forward into the defense for Stumptown.
Exactly. The one thing not too surprising, though, they have the same back 3 they've trotted out all year in Lobsiger, Amumensa, and Adu. Other than that, a lot of things mixed up, and you aren't surprised. I mean, they're going to change some things after that 3-1 defeat. Ultimately, the lineup played well enough in the first half to be level at 0, but couldn't quite hold up in the second. 3 goals between the 68th and 80th minute. Newell had a consolation penalty in the 89th, but ultimately was not enough to make up the ground. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. Sam Goldfarb, Robert Morrison here to bring you the action from Matthews, North Carolina. Stumptown, of course, 5 matches unbeaten. Meanwhile, Michigan Stars, 6 matches winless. An interesting clash here on the final day of the season. Krim plays it forward to Dylan Greenberg. He and Bejarano Navia have been the regular holding midfield duo the last 3 matches for Stumptown. And now Martinez. Began the year as a wingback, now a converted outside center back. Of course, we mention every broadcast an MLS Super Draft pick a few years back. And Robert, just talking about the development of NISA as a league. Of course, came into fruition in the fall of 2019. It was initially supposed to be a promotion relegation system, has since changed a little bit. But what does this do for young talent like Martinez, guys who tried to make it in the MLS but couldn't quite find their footing on a roster? What does it do for those guys?
I mean, reps, right? Like giving them the opportunity to play. I mean, rather than languishing on an MLS roster where you're not going to get a chance to play, you get an opportunity to come out and be on the field and play every week, and that's really important, I think, for players at that level.
Absolutely, and a lot of guys who have been all over the shop, especially Michigan Stars. You've got guys who played in Sweden and Bulgaria, all over Europe in academies, and this gives them the opportunity, especially as youngsters, to really get key minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robert Hines, another converted outside center back. Stumptown at the moment looks like they are rocking with 3 in the back and 4 in midfield. They've tweaked this all year. Sometimes they opt for 2 center backs. Sometimes it fluctuates to a 3-back. Sometimes it fluctuates to a 5-back. And it's a very tough system to decipher if you're an opposing coach. Today, in the case, Coach Alexander Stremmel.
Yeah, or if you're the doing the color commentary up here in the booth, right?
Absolutely.
Trying to figure
Robert,
out who's doing what.
it's tough for me as well. Michigan Stars FC gave us a 12-man starting lineup to begin the night. Greenberg slithers into trouble, bundled over by what looks to be Newell, pleading his case with the coach. But not enough if you're James Abraham there.
Yeah, seems reasonable. You want to, start off making sure that you're controlling the game if you're the referee.
Absolutely. And with that one, it looked like for a moment there, Greenberg might have been in a bit of trouble, but took the contact well. And free kick for Stumptown, going to restart things here.
And one thing I do notice immediately is the sort of unbalanced nature of the lineup for Stumptown. Reese Williams over here on our near side is getting way further forward than Robert Hines on the other side. I'm assuming by design to kind of give that some width.
Excellent point, Robert, as McGrath carries this one forward. Williams providing support on the near side and receives it. Looking for Travis Ward. He was the star man on Tuesday night, had a goal and an assist in the first half. It's his second game having a goal and an assist this year. Had that against Maryland Bobcats FC in the opener. And McGrath going to get things started once again for Stumptown. He scored the opener on Tuesday night. Looks through for Williams on the overlap. An excellent job by Mukuruva to come out to clear. Tatenda Mukuvara, a 25-year-old goalkeeper from Harare, Zimbabwe, has made 20 appearances on the Zimbabwe senior national team dating back to 2015. He's one of 2 guys on this Michigan Stars FC roster to actually have senior caps at the international level. Stumptown controlling possession here early. Michigan Stars had one semi-threatening spell in the opening minutes, but other than that, haven't really been able to settle on the ball just yet. Ward and McGrath being forced a little deeper than maybe they'd like.
Oh, this does not look good.
And Martinez goes down grabbing his quad.
No contact whatsoever. He just kind of was standing on the sideline, then all of a sudden just went down.
Frankie Martinez, the captain of this Stumptown side. He's just 25 years of age, went to UMass Lowell, 6'1", and he gets up to his feet, but it's going to be an early substitution. We certainly hope that he's okay long-term. Heartbreaking moment for the star defender, and is going to be replaced by Sean Sharma. We saw Sharma a bit at the end of last week. I believe it's his 4th appearance of the year, and he's going to be an outside center back with Krim moving into the middle. And that's a big loss for Stumptown with Frankie Martinez having to go to the sideline here in the 8th minute.
Yeah, it's for sure. We talked about their attack at the open, but their defense has been outstanding throughout the entirety of this season, and so to lose somebody who's been a key part of that is going to be tough to overcome.
Absolutely, Robert. This Stumptown defense, touching on that point, only 4 goals conceded all year. Oddly enough, 3 of those coming at home. And Stumptown, we say this every broadcast because it remains true, have yet to concede a goal from open play, and we're on the final match day of the season. And say what you will, 8-game season and whatnot, but that's still very impressive.
Absolutely. Again, you keep the ball out of the net for the other team and score more goals, and you're in good shape. Oversimplification, though it may be, it is still true.
And Robert, that importance can't be understated, especially for a Stumptown side that really struggled to crack more than a goal heading into really this week. Stumptown had many 1-goal matches. They fell to the LA Force 1-0 after creating a lot of chances, and their defense really kept them in a lot of those games, especially the Cal United game last Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about the matchup that they had against Detroit City, keeping that high-powered offense out of the net that entire game, and they didn't score then, but the defense is what gets you a point in that particular case. And they've shown it throughout this entire season.
Excellent build-up here. Greenberg and Garcia Sosa linking up at the moment. Now played back to Alex McGrath. Stumptown looking to get something progressive going forward. And now McGrath claiming deep. One thing, an adjustment Stumptown's made that Robert and I talked about, they moved Bejarano Navia and Greenberg into holding midfield and allowed McGrath really not to have to go back to defend as much or go back into his own half to claim. But he and Ward still like to come a bit deep around midfield to pick up the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're the playmakers on this team. They got to go find the ball. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat that this change has forced is Hines really moving into a full-on right-back position. If he wasn't already, he certainly is based on his positioning since the change was made a couple minutes ago.
Absolutely. We can conclude Stumptown is for sure in a back four at the moment. Reese Williams and Robert Hines are the fullbacks, and you have Sean Sharma and Jacob Krim in the center. Sharma's made a couple appearances of late. As we mentioned, came off the bench in the second half against 1904 FC on Tuesday night. And Greenberg. And ultimately right now, you've seen some slick moments for Stumptown, a lot of cool one-touch movements a few moments ago, but haven't really put any pressure on Mukuruva aside from one long ball. They'll be looking to change that here as Ramos Godoy is muscled off it by Aidu. And now Lobsiger, the wingback. To Shalbad, who switches the play to Schneider. Lobsiger in a very advanced position. We're used to seeing him in the heart of defense, has moved into kind of a hybrid wingback role for the time being as Shalbad muscling off Garcia Sosa. And Reynolds searching for Lobsiger. Williams wins that challenge well.
That's really good body control from Reese Williams there.
Absolutely, Robert, as McGrath comes away with it. A bit of trickery, ultimately bundled over there by Schneider operating in midfield. Free kick coming for Stumptown. Bejarano Navia to take. Pretty cagey opening, I'd say, to this one. Neither side creating many opportunities, but only 12 minutes gone. It's funny, by this point on Tuesday night, it was already 2-1 Stumptown.
Yeah, absolutely. A little more stop and go. I'm sure the injury plays into that a little bit. You expect a certain way to play, and then you might have to change things up a little bit when you got a new player coming in that early in the match.
Absolutely, Robert. It certainly interrupted the flow. We've seen Stumptown have a couple slick moments, but outside of that, nothing really going forward. Meanwhile, on the other side, Michigan Stars still trying to throw coming on the far side. I believe that is Abraham, and intercepted by Greenberg. Dylan Greenberg making his third consecutive start for Stumptown. Did not make an appearance until the Chattanooga game, in which he started and played all 90. Had an impressive shift as well for the bulk of Tuesday night's match, and he gets another start today. And a good pass through to Garcia Sosa. Scored with a terrific finish in the 45th minute after some magic from Travis Ward. And Ward, Garcia Sosa, and McGrath have really been the three key pieces for this Stumptown attack all year.
And McGrath hanging out on the right-hand side an awful lot so far tonight. Less in the center of the park than we're used to seeing him for sure.
Seems they've moved Garcia Sosa in as Ramos Quiroy shoved by Amu Mensah. Amu Mensah, the other internationally capped player. Excuse me, that's actually a due for Liberia. Sharma plays to Williams. And I like your point, Robert, earlier. Williams definitely a little more of a progressive fullback. They use Hines as more of the enforcer on the right, it seems.
Yeah, and I think that's changed a little bit since the substitution. But Williams definitely seems to have more freedom, and you can even see him now. He's Travis Ward is over here on the left-hand side, and Williams is almost in a center forward position. Very interestingly enough.
Yeah, Ward and Williams both playing on this left flank. We've seen them overlap a couple times already, and they look for Williams in the center. Manages to twist away from Lobsiger. And playing around the back is Gonzalez. A bit of pressure here from Mahano and company up top. Mahano and Yunkai look to be the front two. Surprisingly, Kyle Newell, the leading goal scorer, playing left wing tonight.
Yeah, pretty quiet from that side of the formation for Michigan Stars so far. It may be just something that Stumptown's doing, but they're not able to move the ball on what is our far side at all so far.
Absolutely, and maybe part of that is having Hines as the fullback to not launching attacks as much as the likes of Williams. But also, I like that point, Robert. It seems like a lot of Stumptown's attacks all year have flown through the left, and if you're McGrath playing on the right, that certainly inhibits your opportunities. Long ball looking for Hines down the far side. It's past Schneider's foot and corralled by the wingback, and a corner coming for Stumptown.
Nice, that was a good ball there. And you like to see that. I mean, it's been a little bit stagnant coming through the left and the middle, so let's switch it up and see what can happen.
Absolutely. Don't want to be predictable if you're Stumptown. You saw some overlap between Ward and Williams on the left, so you switch it to the right. And at the moment, Garcia Sosa stands over it. Taken short. And now Greenberg looks to play it into the danger zone. Looked like he found the head of Jacob Krim, but couldn't quite steer it on target.
That was everything but the back of the net, I suppose. Everything else looked good. Good ball in from Greenberg, and Krim just couldn't quite direct it on target. Had good pace on it, but needed just to straighten out just a little bit.
Excellent, tricky set piece here in the opening 20 minutes. First set piece from either side in terms of corners. And Robert, definitely something from the training ground there. Almost managed to pay off on the actual pitch tonight.
Yeah, you like to take those opportunities, especially since, shots and really anything near goal so far has been a little bit tough to come by. Tough to break down this defense so far, which is interesting given their defensive troubles on Michigan's side.
Absolutely, and the note we do have to mention is this Michigan Stars team did hold Maryland Bobcats to a 0-0 scoreline at halftime. Now, I know Maryland Bobcats aren't exactly a renowned team in NISA in terms of record, but they've been performing better of late, and it was just that 12-minute spell where they really came apart. So we'll see if they can hold up for the full 90 here tonight. It's probably going to take holding Stumptown to one bare maximum if you are Michigan Stars to get a result here. Just because of how good that Stumptown defense has been. We mentioned 4 goals allowed in 7 NISA games.
Yeah, it's it's the opposite of what we were talking about with Michigan Stars. While Stumptown has not been scoring goals like crazy all season, they've kept the ball out of the back of their own net, which has been super key.
Corner on its way from Yunkai. Michigan Stars FC looking to bag the opener here. Near post, knocked around and ultimately cleared by Krim. Michigan Stars appealing for a handball, and the traveling fans yelling as well for it. Ultimately just going to go for a throw, it seems.
Looked like the referee had a good position on it to see it. I couldn't tell one way or the other from where we're seated if we had anything there, but
it looks like there was just some contact and occurred quickly, so naturally there's going to be an appeal.
Sure.
I couldn't quite see where it hit on Krim's body, though.
Yeah, but like you said, if the ball's bouncing around in the box like that, there's going to be appeals almost all the time.
Ramos Godoy carries it forward for Stumptown. And a throw coming for the home side. And Sharma looking to build from the back. Krim looks down the line for Hines. Stumptown looking to rebound after a bit of shakiness at the back. They find Ward on the near side. Ball played a little too far wide for his liking, but claims it.
Oh, that's a good move.
And swerving inside. Good recovery there by Idu. Looked like Ward had his beating on the fullback. And Bejarano Navia tries to body off Yunkai. A lot of contact, and there's going to be a whistle. I don't think he can have too much of an appeal there, despite his words to the referee.
Yeah, a lot of contact there, but ultimately I think he definitely kind of got the pull on Yunkai there at the end of the play.
Absolutely, Robert. It looked like they were tussling all the way down the field, it seems, especially once the ball was played that way. And Reynolds stands over this one. Zachary Reynolds with 1 goal to his name. He's more of a defensive-minded midfielder, has played along Yunkai a lot. Instead, he's more kind of operating as a center midfielder hybrid winger tonight. And Michigan Stars loading red shirts towards the box. And you'd have to figure with not much to lose, they'll be going for something tonight. Header flicked on. Rolls out of play. No trouble there for Hines and company. And it looks...
Yep, you have a corner.
Like another corner on the way, Robert. Good
Yep.
call. 21st minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. And Michigan Stars FC holding their own going forward, largely off set pieces.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble scoring goals, set pieces are your best friend, right, as a team. So they've already had a couple of good opportunities. See if they can take advantage of them.
And it's a Stumptown team that's conceded 2 offset pieces this year. Taken short, looking for Abraham, who goes for the overhead effort. Rolls out of play. Looked more audacious than the attempt itself.
Yeah, that one didn't look super comfortable from him, but a good effort, though.
Take a stab at it. Why not?
Why not?
And a goal kick coming. And you're seeing here the likes of Mahano and Yunkai pressing high, and they've watched their game film. It's clear on Stumptown. Stumptown has struggled historically, at least this year, with the press. But the adjustment that we talked about was Bejarano Navia and Greenberg serving as those links and holding mid.
Right, and asking less of your playmakers, especially Ward and McGrath. Early on in the season, you're seeing a lot more of McGrath, especially having to come back to get the ball. If you have those midfielders kind of linking up between the defense and the attack, they're going to help with that motion for sure.
Yunkai charging forward once again. He's looked the liveliest of Michigan Stars' players tonight. And wins a throw for the visitors. But an excellent point, Robert. We saw McGrath having to come so far deep. And Ward is more comfortable than McGrath at really charging forward from defense because Ward is listed actually as a defender. But it is easier for them when you have 2 holding midfielders to build up and take pressure off you when there's a press. And Ward wins that ball, does his defensive duties, and a goal kick coming.
Yeah, and also having those 2 midfielders can help with the defense too. So you have having the dual roles of aiding in the defense as well as stringing the passes from defense to attack can be very key, and not ask your playmakers to dribble the ball 3/4 of the way up the field and try to score after that. That's a tall task.
Absolutely. Providing a lot of flexibility in the chess match as well. We talk about how it's difficult to decipher the defense Stumptown rocks with half the time because they play 5, they play 4, they sometimes play 3. And when you have guys like Bejarano Navia and Greenberg and holding mid, it gives you that flexibility. As Greenberg wins the ball here, tries to play it wide for Ward, and it looks like a miscommunication between the two. Travis Ward, of course, went to Rowan University from New Egypt, New Jersey. 2 goals and 4 assists to his name in 2021. And Ward actually a former Michigan Stars player, albeit for about a game. Played in that spring 2020 campaign. That obviously got cut short by the pandemic. Fortunately, not too many issues in the spring in terms of being able to get games in. Stumptown did have to reschedule 1 game against Cal United that was played last week. Abraham looks back for Adu. 2 caps with the Liberian senior national team. And now Mukurova. Michigan Stars looking pretty confident in build-up. Not a lot of aggressive pressure from Stumptown. Something you think maybe you see more test the struggling defense a bit.
Yeah, you'd think so. again, there could be just opportunities from Stumptown to push Michigan a little bit harder. It doesn't seem like they're making a lot of effort to do that and to really see if they can force mistakes like they did on Tuesday night.
Absolutely, and Robert alluding to, of course, the opening mistake where it was a cross that was scuffed and led to a finish from Alex McGrath, and then for the second goal, Ward just picked a defender's pocket and slotted it home. Tonight, we have not seen as much aggressiveness charging forward.
A lot more time, Michigan over the last 5-10 minutes with the ball. You'd think you'd want to try to get it out of their feet, so to speak.
Absolutely. The one thing you don't want to do against a side that comes in maybe with its confidence low is cede so much possession. And now Schneider. Surging down the left. Cross deflected, finds its way to Junkai. One of the big creative forces for this Michigan Stars team. And ultimately a free kick won by McGrath tracking back.
That was good work by Alex McGrath to create some defensive work there and get the ball back for his team.
Absolutely, and something McGrath has definitely deputized in well despite being more of an attacking-minded player.
Yeah, look at the pressure that Michigan is creating off of that free kick. Getting really close into Stumptown's area.
Forcing Krim to boot upfield to Ramos Godoy. Header won by Amu Mensah. And I think that's ultimately been the key in allowing Michigan Stars to monopolize possession here tonight. Flick on from Mahano. Finds its way to Junkai. Through ball for Lobsiger. Williams trips over his own feet trying to win the ball back, and it's ushered out for a corner. More promising play for Michigan Stars, Robert.
Yeah, that could have been really problematic. A little bit of miscommunication between what was that? It was that Krim and Sean and.
It looked like Williams was involved in that as well.
Yeah, just a little bit of a mix-up, and you wonder again. And I hate to keep harping on this, but the substitution with the new center back pairing can create some sort of communication issues there, and I think that might have been what happened there.
Absolutely, and Robert, they lost their captain in Frankie Martinez, so they've got to fully reorganize as the corner comes in. This one towards the middle, hits McGrath's body, cleared by Ward. A few corners have found their way into that danger zone in the penalty area, but no red shirts have been able to really get a good connection on it.
Yeah, good deliveries from Michigan Stars on those corners for sure. But Stumptown has got it pretty well packed in. You have to be really careful, though. Some of these balls are getting very close to bouncing in the wrong direction, and suddenly it's at the feet of the wrong player, or it bounces off a hand or something like that. That could be bad news.
Yeah, they've won a lot of balls on the wing and been able to play in some aggressive crosses. Aidu clears the ball for Garcia Sosa out of play. Stumptown going to relieve some pressure going forward here with a throw. 28th minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, more than midway through the first half. Still 0-0, but Michigan Stars FC arguably the better side tonight thus far, as Ramos Godoy looks for Garcia Sosa. And corralled by Abraham. Mahano holds up. And launching for Newell. Trying to calm his side down, tell him to be more patient and build up. But that pressing trio of Mahano, Junkai, and Newell has given Stumptown problems in the first half. It's a point we haven't really talked about much since the first, say, 15, 20 minutes of the LA Force match. But here tonight, you're seeing Michigan Stars trot out a similar game plan and having similar effectiveness. McGrath slithers it over to Hines. And forced back once again are the Stumps. Final match day of the NISA spring season. Stumptown currently sat in third. That's the lowest they could possibly finish. Barring a miracle, that's where they will finish. They would need to score a bunch of goals and have Detroit City lose by probably 2 or 3 to manage second place. Greenberg looks for Ramos Godoy, finds him. And Abraham fouls, trying to win it back.
It's offside.
Offside, excuse me. It looked like for a moment they were pointing at Abraham, but the flag was up. Good eye, Robert. And it did look like he was pushing the limits there.
A little bit, yeah. And that seems to be the game plan seems very clear for Michigan Stars. It's pressing on the deep, and when Stumptown gets the ball, it's double teaming whoever it is that has the ball and forcing them to make a decision. And Stumptown has not always been quick to process and make the right decision, and that's why they haven't had much of the ball, and they haven't had much in the way of opportunities so far.
And Stumptown looking to change that here. They almost look like they've been taken by surprise a little bit. This is a Michigan Stars team that hasn't really shocked too many opponents this year, had a good Legends Cup run, but aside from that and the opening win over New Amsterdam on May 1st, a lot of struggles. So maybe Stumptown just popped in the mouth a little bit to open things up.
Yeah, and you can certainly see that. And from a sort of human standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you look at a team, they're struggling at the bottom of the table. So I would imagine part of you, from Stumptown's point of view, looks at that and goes, oh, we know what to expect, and they are getting a dose of something that has been problematic for them at times this season.
Yeah, it's an issue that's kind of like fluctuated in and out. We didn't see it as much during this 5-match unbeaten run, and largely because some teams maybe didn't have the personnel to attempt it, but also it looked like they had adapted as there's some issues here. Sharma almost loses out to Mahana.
Whew, that was dangerous.
Absolutely. Just navigates through the pressure and now finds Williams. Not the smoothest opening 30 for the home side, but still level. And Krim looks to add some life into the Stumptown attack. Hines looking for Ramos Godoy. Looked like he was offside if that found its way to him anyway. And McGrath recycles. And speaking of the likes of Stumptown's attacking players, we talked about how the press can sometimes force guys further back. You think, okay, maybe the holding midfield situation adapts that. You still see McGrath having to come so far back to claim the ball. And that's really how Stumptown has been thwarted going forward all year.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this in that LA Force match. That didn't really work for them then, and it's so far not really working for them now. Oh.
And McGrath, a frustration foul in the attacking third. Lucky not to be shown a yellow potentially, but there's still a player down for Michigan Stars FC. We'll get word on that in a moment. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the National Independent Soccer Association. As we see the replay here, Robert, if you want to break it down.
Yeah, it looks like they lost the ball, and McGrath tries to go in for it and got a little bit of the leg there. I can't tell who that is. Is that Abraham?
James Abraham.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I see the back of his shirt. I was just waiting for that one. But welcome to 11 Sports Network, Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC knotted at 0-0 here in the 32nd. Stumptown has struggled a bit to maintain possession. Michigan Stars, with neither side really with any decisive chances, but Michigan Stars with more half chances and more of the ball, as Lobsiger looks to create another one. Through for Junkai. He draws two white shirts, and low cross is claimed quite comfortably by Gonzalez.
It's good to see Gonzalez snatch that ball and really take control of it. He had a nervy moment right at the beginning of the match and hasn't really touched the ball other than goal kicks and a couple of other movements so far tonight. So probably good to get that first one out of your system.
Absolutely, Robert. Stumptown, of course, 4 shutouts on the year, all of them credited to Kevin Gonzalez. 27-year-old goalkeeper, Holy Names University. As McGrath, surging through traffic, loses out, no foul. Looks like there was only slight contact. And the ball played out wide to Newell. Michigan Stars leading goal scorer and leading assist man with 3 apiece. He is the only man to score for Michigan Stars on Saturday night in that 3-1 defeat. Scored from the penalty spot, and they lose it out of play there.
Yeah, Newell for Michigan is kind of doing a little bit what McGrath is doing on Stumptown's side in terms of moving around. He doesn't seem to have a locked position. He's been on this near side, on the far side like he is right now. Interestingly enough, he's been playing more up top in other situations, so seems to be a versatile player for Michigan Stars.
Greenberg, good ball down the line, looking for Garcia Sosa. Ultimately, Makuvara comes to clear long. Two number 7s just still trying to find their footing in this matchup. Lobziger has it knocked out of play by Ward, and a throw coming. And Andres Schalbad with the throw. Finds Mahano, and the overlap for Lobziger. Enticing. Cross knocked off Sharma, had an arm behind his back, made that clear to the official, and a corner coming.
But again, and we talked about this before, as soon even the ball hitting him in the chest, you got people calling for a penalty there. So it just kind of goes to show you about in those situations.
Anytime the ball contacts a defender's
Yeah, it's
body.
like, hey, there's a penalty. Like,
only time they won't ask for it is if it hits him in the foot or the face.
right. Yeah, maybe even the face. You never know.
Yeah, actually. Yunkai coming with another corner. Michigan Stars applying more pressure. Header in the center of the box. Adu gets a connection on it, but can't quite trouble Gonzalez.
I think Gonzalez has got the right idea right here. Need to slow this down, really look for an opening rather than try to rush forward here.
And Robert, a player I've been very impressed with here early, Dakota Lobziger, the wingback.
Yeah, he's creating a lot of problems. He was instrumental in that last move to set up the last corner. And he seems to be controlling this left-hand side in defense as well, where Reese Williams and Travis Ward have been creating a lot of problems for a lot of other players so far this season.
Maybe Stumptown didn't quite expect the aggression from the 26-year-old defender. Of course, Lobziger has been all over the shop, actually played in the USL, played 2 USL championship teams on the way to a 4th round appearance.
Oh, good ball.
And a ball through for Ramos Godoy.
Ah, too much.
Yes, just a little out of his
Good
reach,
effort.
but a throw coming does well to save it and prevent a goal kick. But Dakota Lobziger played for Orange County FC, and they made an unlikely USL Open Cup 4th round run. They defeated the Las Vegas Lights and Orange County SC on the way to that 4th round appearance. And you don't see too many 3rd, 4th tier sides make the US Open Cup 4th round, so a little bit of an enticing accomplishment on Lobziger's CV. As McGrath tries to win that back, and Ramos Godoy corrals. Greenberg can't quite play along to Garcia Sosa, and ultimately just some ping pong on the pitch.
A little bit. Pull it back. Was there a foul? I didn't really see what the referee's pulling this back for.
Believe either a hand or a foul, it
Okay.
looks.
Yeah.
And Adu carries forward for the visitors. Once again, Michigan Stars just monopolizing possession. Stumptown still hasn't quite found its footing going forward. Amu Mensah for Newell. And Greenberg comes away with it, finds Garcia Sosa. Can't quite steer that ball onto McGrath's foot. And Michigan Stars will build once again. A good showing here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. You can't quite see the stand on the near side, but very well attended, very packed. And on the far side even, getting some fans in attendance. Not be surprised if we have upwards of a couple thousand here tonight, potentially.
Absolutely. Got some drums over there in the supporters section over there in 101. Like to see it. Like to see it, absolutely.
And this is a Stumptown team that has undoubtedly grown its social media and fan presence over the last year. Of course, a first-year club, a whole new staff. You got to give massive credit to the way they built this club in 8 games. Ball played down the line, searching for Yunkai. Looks like Hines actually knocks it out of play.
Yep. Another corner.
And that's got to be the 5th or 6th corner we've seen for Michigan Stars tonight. Still 0-0. But every time Michigan Stars gets a corner, you see this crowd go a bit more restless.
And the last one, they finally made contact on it first. I think the first several, they were not able to do that, but the last one was a good delivery, and then you saw Adu get his head on it first. Not much power beyond it, but something got to be wary of if you're Stumptown.
This time, Williams is no nonsense and heads it out of play. Couldn't quite play it toward a red shirt is Yunkai, who's overall done a pretty good job on his corners tonight. And looking to build once again is Shalbad for Lobsiger, and ultimately knocked off his feet for a goal kick.
Yeah, Lobsinger continues to create pressure there for Stumptown on this right-hand side. Something they're going to have to figure out what to do about it.
And you see the Stars mixing up their game plan a little bit more. You see Shalbad kind of serving as that wing back instead of Lobsiger, who's more of an out-and-out winger. And that ball played long for Ramos Godoy. Makuvara jumps off his line and clears this one into the stands right near the press box.
I thought we were going to get that one.
Yeah, I thought that one was going to hit the windowsill. He's going to have to take cover here. And you see that time, that's probably one of the more threatening balls played in Ramos Godoy's direction, but just couldn't win the foot race with Makuvara. 41st minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown AC still knotted at 0-0 with Michigan Stars FC. Stumptown in third with 14 points. Michigan Stars in ninth with 4. Sharma searching for Ramos Godoy. Another header won by Adu, who's been winning every 50-50 aerial ball, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of isolation up top for Ramos Godoy. For Stumptown, he's just being corralled by all the defenders back there.
And part of that has to be due to the fact that McGrath and Ward are forced to come so far back to claim these days.
Right, absolutely. And you almost wonder if there's not a different way to approach this. Maybe the lone striker is not the way to handle this pressure, but we'll see if there's a plan for how to attack this in the second half.
Stumptown certainly in need of adjustments going forward as Lobsiger charges down the right once again. Takes a challenge from Williams, and a yellow being produced by the official Nicole Green. Free kick coming in a slightly dangerous position for Michigan Stars FC here towards the tail end of the first.
Whew, let's take a look at this one again. At first glance, it looked like a pretty decent tackle, but you see Williams come in. Oh, yeah, definitely missed the ball altogether. That's a rough one, but probably deserved for Reese Williams.
Absolutely, just looked like it was slightly late. Went studs up after Lobsiger got contact on the ball, and Yunkai, the best passer on this Michigan Stars team, with another opportunity. Most threatening free kick of the night for either side here in the 42nd. What can the visitors produce here before the break? Cross delivered by Yunkai to the back post. Header from Amu Mensah, and a great save from Kevin Gonzalez.
That, my friend, is what you call reflexes. That was an excellent response there by Gonzalez. And he needed it. That was going in the back of the net without a doubt. What a delivery on that ball by Yunkai.
Yunkai took my resounding endorsement well here.
He certainly did. Let's not do that anymore. Oh, did that come off of a Stumptown player? It's very close.
Maybe a deflection after the header. We have a corner coming up. Yunkai set to deliver once again. That Amu Mensah header was absolutely headed for the top corner. Flick on from Newell. Can't trouble Gonzalez, and out for a goal kick. And
nope, another corner, it looks like.
Oh,
looks like it took a deflection off the Stumptown player.
Looked like for a moment it was routine, but another one coming here. Good eye, Robert.
Yeah. Yeah, we got two people here. We help each other out. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yunkai set with probably his 7th or 8th corner delivery of the night, it
I've
seems.
certainly lost count.
Me too. We don't have the corner stats readily available. Looking for Amu Mensah once again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That time cleared and recycled by Lobsiger, who's been all over the place in this first half.
Uh-oh.
And Yunkai down the far side with space. Cross deflected. Gonzalez claims. A bit nervy.
Yeah, Hines kind of saved that one. I don't know. That would have been wide open if he didn't block that cross from Yunkai for sure.
And a phenomenal ball again from Dakota Lobsiger. Wins the free kick. Plays that terrific ball with Stumptown a little switched off. but ultimately Hines and company recover. And Krim, 44th minute. Pressure building for Stumptown. They look long for McGrath, who wiggles his way into some space past Schneider. Bejarano Navia can't quite steer it over to Stumptown's leading scorer. And it's going to go out for a Stars throw. Heading into the tail end of this first half, Robert, what's an adjustment Stumptown needs to make heading into the break?
They have to find a way to deal with this pressure that the Michigan Stars is throwing at them. They don't seem to have an answer for it, and Alex McGrath has been basically silenced by this defense that has been so porous throughout most of the season. It's very interesting to see that they've been able to hold Stumptown coming off that massive win on Tuesday night to basically nothing.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a change of narrative here in the span of about 4 days, as Makuvara plays it to Amu Mensah. Had the threatening header, biggest chance of the half for either side a few moments ago, and forced Gonzalez into a pretty big save. McGrath is knocked over on the far side, and a free kick coming.
And a yellow card.
And a yellow as well. Can't quite tell if that is Schneider or Abraham. It is Carl Schneider. 2 minutes of added time here in the first half, says the fourth official. And Stumptown with their biggest free kick opportunity from a very similar position to the one we saw Michigan Stars have. And we'll take a replay on this foul real quick.
Yeah, little giveaway in the attacking side, and Schneider just runs McGrath over.
And McGrath starting to slowly maybe work his way into this one going forward. A good little spell going into the break. Garcia Sosa stands over this one. And taken, headed for the back post. Great claim by Makuvara, surrounded by a sea of white shirts. And launching down the line for Yunkai. Doesn't have much support yet, holds up for red shirts to come. Ronaldo's
out there.
Yeah, Ronaldo's step over didn't quite go according to plan. And now slicing into space. Cross. Looked like he was trying to find Newell a bit outside his reach, cleared only as far as Lobsiger. And now Mahano on the near side. Cross to the back post. It looked like it might have came off Hines. And we have a corner coming.
Whew, another nervy defensive moment for Stumptown. We'd been singing their defensive praises throughout much of the first half, but these last couple of trips down to this side of the pitch have been a little bit concerning, I have to say.
And it's a concerning trend that's carried over from, say, the second half of that 1904 game on Tuesday. They were a bit switched off then, and coming into tonight, just maybe not as locked in as they were to open things on Tuesday night.
Yeah, the difference being obviously they were up 3-1, and at that point they're still 0-0 at this point.
Absolutely. Newell fields the short corner. The cross from Yunkai cleared only as far as Schneider, just picked up a yellow. And Mahano digs one. Can't tell if he was shooting or passing, but puts it atop the canopy club.
Do they get to keep those? How does that work?
I believe they don't.
That's
but
unfortunate.
It would be a really cool feature to add to soccer matches.
Probably a lot more expensive than baseballs, though.
Absolutely. Just imagine catching an errant shot from Lionel Messi. You get to keep the ball. Be more valuable than getting a shirt from him, I'd say.
For sure.
Gonzalez boots it long, and that'll do it for the first half. Stumptown and Michigan Stars FC knotted at 0-0. Michigan Stars, arguably the more dominant side heading into the break, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's more than safe to say. They've controlled a lot of the match in terms of possession. They've had the better chances. There was the one pretty decent opportunity from Krim for Stumptown on their ends, but by and large, they do not have an answer for the pressure that Michigan Stars have been putting on throughout this first half, and they've got 14 minutes to figure it out.
Absolutely. We'll see what adjustments Stumptown makes after the break. We'll take a quick break ourselves here on the 11 Sports Network. 0-0 between Stumptown and Michigan Stars FC. Sam Goldfarb and Robert Morrison will be back in about 10 minutes to break down the first half and preview the second. Stick with us here Welcome back to the National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. Sam Goldfarb, Robert Morrison, thrilled to bring you the action here at halftime. Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC are level. And surprisingly, Robert, Michigan Stars FC has been the more dominant side, and the biggest chance of the first half came from Devin Amumensa off a free kick.
Yeah, absolutely. They came out with a game plan and pressure, and we're going to see here's that free kick for Michigan Stars. A good delivery, as we've seen throughout the first half, and Amumensa gets up above it, and Gonzalez makes an incredible save. That ball was going clear in the back of the net. I don't know if Stumptown knew much about it, to be honest with you, but that has been the story of the first half in a lot of ways. It's been the pressure from Michigan Stars. It has been set pieces. It has been Stumptown having no real response or answers or really any idea what to do with this pressure, as we've seen from them in other matches this season. And
arguably the most threatening piece going forward has oddly been a listed defender for Michigan Stars FC, Dakota Lobsinger.
Yeah, Lobsinger has been a real problem for sure. They're going to need to figure out what to do with him as well. He's I don't know if it's a pace situation or just not really expecting to see him making those runs forward and making those runs into the center of the park and other situations. They just hopefully they've spent the last the halftime period really focusing on what to do in order to get 3 points out of this game.
Absolutely, and it would be a fine ending to a difficult, tumultuous campaign for Michigan Stars FC if they could go to Stumptown, come to the Sportsplex, where Stumptown has only lost one game all year, and pull off a 3-point victory today. We're just about ready for the second half. It appears there have been no changes on the... Actually, it does look like we will have some changes listed on the fourth officials board. We will get those to you in a moment. They're just changing them in front of us. But Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC level at 0-0 entering the second 45 minutes. Stumptown still has not conceded from open play, but Michigan Stars FC got quite close to cracking them a few times. And now the change on record here. It appears Casanio Hall is set to enter for Stumptown. And I believe that's going to be Ramos Godoy coming off. They listed him as 72 on the board. He is number 12 in white, for those of you trying to keep track of everybody at home. So one change, and it's up top. Casanio Hall, potentially more of a target man. He had a phenomenal shift in the second 45 minutes against Cal United Strikers last Tuesday. Had a huge chipped chance, that's hard to say, that cannoned off the post and was very threatening. So we'll see how we can make an impact here in the second 45.
Yeah, I mean, immediately right off the bat, you can see the disparity between... I just lost the name between Ramos Godoy and Hall. Yeah, in terms of size, which could make an immediate impact in terms of how to deal with this pressure. Maybe we're going to see some more long balls. Again, there has to be some solution, and maybe that's it.
And Hall, a happy medium between Ramos Godoy and Carpe. He's got the finesse of Ramos Godoy. He's a little tricky on the ball, but he's also has the hold-up ability of Carpe and the ability to really create chances out of on an isolated situation. Schneider heads that one in the direction of Abraham, who goes over clutching his head. It appears he and Garcia Sosa had a rough collision in midfield to open things up here.
Oh, that's not good. Hopefully they'll be all right.
Garcia Sosa up to his feet, grabbing his head. He looks intent on continuing. It appears Abraham came off a bit worse for wear. So, start-stop action to begin here.
Yeah, we're going to see the collision here. Comes forward, and then they're...
It's a bit of head tennis, it appears.
Yeah, a little bit. Abraham is a head taller than Garcia Sosa. I'm not really sure what happened there. I don't know if he got him under the chin or... Yeah, it looks like he's clutching onto his jaw, so I'm wondering if Garcia Sosa just got him on the top of the head with his... or on the underside of his chin with his head.
Garcia Sosa and Abraham both on the sideline being evaluated here, so both players temporarily playing with 10 men. Just being evaluated for any sort of head trauma before potentially re-entering. 47th minute. Here, the National Independent Soccer Association final match day here on the 11 Sports Network. 0-0 here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, a.k.a. the Stumplex, as Stumptown fans are referring to it. I think we'll make that reference a couple more times throughout the night.
I like it.
As Adu resets. The biggest chance of the match, despite Lobsiger's phenomenal play on the right, came from Devon Amumensa. We showed the replay at halftime. Terrific header off a free kick. And both players look set to re-enter here. Abraham and Garcia Sosa back on the pitch, and glad to see them healthy and ready to go.
Absolutely. Good to see no long-term injuries. Hopefully both will be ready to finish up this match.
And Amumensa resets. Michigan Stars back to their old tricks, trying to build from the back as Hall pressures. As we mentioned, Casanio Hall made his second appearance of the season last Tuesday and had a couple big opportunities. He was very lively in the second half of that match, despite not managing to crack the back of the net. Schneider in midfield looks wide. And now Junkai, who had a very lively first half as well. He and Lobsiger, probably the two most threatening players. And they did a good job silencing Newell for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. But, Junkai's crossing ability has been creating most of the problems for Stumptown tonight.
Absolutely.
So the way to stay out of that is to not give away free kicks or corners, and so that would be one way to deal with it.
And that's something Stumptown has really struggled to cope with here, at least in the first half. The unofficial shot tallies were 6 for Michigan Stars FC and 1 for Stumptown. So you see the one-sided nature of that first half, but Stumptown relying on their defense. There were a few shaky moments. There was the big chance, but still level.
Yep, and in the end, that's the thing that matters, right? Maybe they're a little shaky at times, but they have not broken yet, and can hold on to that as long as you possibly can. Keep yourself in the game.
Hall tries to lay it off for Hines and loses out. Amumensa dragged down by McGrath on the near side. And McGrath, one of the players really frustrated by that press in the first half.
Yeah, and just a general frustration from Alex McGrath, I think, across the board. He hasn't been able to get into the game, and it's kind of starting to show a little bit. So you hope that they can figure out a way to get him more into the action in the second half.
Sharma winning that battle with Junkai, and a throw coming for Michigan Stars FC. Entering the 50th minute here in Matthews, North Carolina on the 11 Sports Network. Sam Goldfarb, Robert Morrison live here in the press box covering the action for you tonight. Still level at 0-0. And Michigan Stars FC just looking to reestablish the possession foothold they had in the first half. And Adu for Makuvara. The Zimbabwean goalkeeper looking long for Kyle Newell, the University of Delaware's all-time appearance leader.
Huh, that's quite a statistic. Sam coming fast with the numbers over here.
Shout out to Michigan Stars FC for having a good bio on their website for all these players.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Newell finds its way to Abraham. The curling effort from Mahano definitely kept Gonzalez on his toes.
No kidding.
But ultimately sailing over the bar.
Whew, another nervy defensive moment there. Again, the communication element from Stumptown in the back has just been a little concerning throughout a lot of this match. There's just been a couple of moments where you just wonder whether or not there's issues with communication with the center backs especially.
And we talked about how the injury affected it. Frankie Martinez, of course, going off in the early stages of this matchup, I believe around the 8th minute-ish, with a non-contact injury. We certainly hope he's all right, as Garcia Sosa tries to rush onto the ball, and ultimately Reynolds fouled on the far side by Ward.
Ward's another name we haven't talked about hardly at all, and he's been arguably Stumptown's best player going forward throughout the entirety of the season, and he, along with McGrath, have been just basically silent tonight.
Absolutely. Ward coming into tonight on a streak of back-to-back matches with a goal or an assist. Had 1 goal and 1 assist on Tuesday night, and then on Saturday against Chattanooga assisted Garcia Sosa's 39th minute winner. Also won the penalty that set up the equalizer last Tuesday night. So he's been very involved as the ball's knocked out of play by Hines on the left flank. Schneider finding Abraham. 2 guys that usually play wingback operating on the same side, and
Put it right back out of bounds.
there you go. Throw coming for Stumptown now.
Yeah.
I would say back and forth we go, but we haven't really gone forth yet.
Not yet. I don't have we crossed the halfway line from Stumptown yet this half? I don't really know.
I think it's debatable at best. The ball does cross the
Hey!
midfield line as Shalbad controls it and plays it back to Makuvara. Pressure coming from Ward. Drew that mistake from Liborio on Stumptown's second in the 13th minute on Tuesday night. Hasn't quite managed to find the payoff from that pressure yet as Newell charges down the left-hand side. Cross coming back post. Gonzalez corralling without too much trouble and trying to launch a quick attack with a rolled pass. Williams ultimately caught up to by Lobsiger. And Garcia Sosa slowly getting more involved. Flick on header for Casanio Hall. Long-range effort. And ultimately, Makuvara does spill it, but nobody in the vicinity to slot it home.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to take a couple more touches there if you're Hall, just to give yourself a better chance. It looked like he had the angle on the defender that he could have, gotten himself a better opportunity. It's a shot on goal, and you like to see that, and that's better from Stumptown, but maybe give yourself a little bit of a better chance of making that shot there.
And Michigan Stars FC potentially switched off a little bit more at the back. They've devoted so much energy going forward, and they haven't really been threatened much, so maybe progressively losing that focus there.
Well, and you talked about, their last match, how they held tight, and then there was just a little mini explosion by the Bobcats within a couple of minutes, and maybe that's something Stumptown can look at as a opportunity for tonight.
Certainly their best half chance of the match there with Hall. Most progressive movement we've seen in quite some time for the Stumps. And Lobsiger back up to his old tricks. Can't quite keep it in play on the right-hand side. Dakota Lobsiger constantly making those vertical runs down the right flank all night. And he and Yunkai have been really connected at the hip in terms of passing. As Adu fielding the pressure from Hall. Makuvara operating a lot outside his own penalty area. And Amu Mensah had the best chance of the match in the 44th. And McGrath intercepts the delivery from Makuvara. And tries the cross, hits it early, and Hall wasn't quite far enough upfield. Rolls into Makuvara's gloves, and they can't quite punish him for the errant distribution.
I mean, you totally understand Alex McGrath wanting to take advantage of that immediately, but the numbers didn't add up for a good opportunity in that situation.
Yunkai has a long-range dig. Gonzalez takes a slight leap and bats it down. No real problems there for Stumptown's keeper. Stumptown thrilled to be partnered with Ortho Carolina. Ortho Carolina, their kit sponsors for the 2021 spring season. Stumptown actually began the year without a kit sponsor, so very grateful for Ortho Carolina and the medical care that they've provided to their training staff. Looking long for Newell. Yunkai also rushing in that direction. Krim plays back to Gonzalez.
The angle on that made me nervous. Huh?
Me as well. I grimaced a little bit, but Sharma fielded it well. And now headed in the direction of Abraham. Bejarano Navia ticks it on to McGrath. We haven't said Bejarano Navia's name much.
I was just thinking that when you said it. I was like, he's been really quiet too.
And that's a holding midfield player that's been really crucial. Dylan Greenberg's really had more of the ball in that slot, and even he hasn't quite managed to make his effect known fully yet. It's a story really of most of the Stumptown progressive / semi-progressive players tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The attackers have been very quiet and have not seen much of the ball. I'm sure if we had some sort of touches numbers, they would be much higher on the defenders' end than on the attacker's end.
McGrath intercepting the pass from Schneider and striding forward. And now Travis Ward has it picked off him. And Abraham going to carry it forward. Carl Schneider bailed out a bit there, but this time McGrath on the interception. And you're starting to see McGrath and Ward a bit more assertive with their pressure.
Yeah, and that's good. And I've been thinking over the last 5 or 10 minutes or so, the pressure for pressure thing might be the way to go for Stumptown. Like if Michigan wants to do that, if they want to pressure, like, you know, match them with the pressure and see if they can handle it as well. And we've seen them with some unforced errors in a lot of ways because of the pressure that's been there.
Schneider with 2 and McCovera a few moments ago as well in goal. And that one didn't feel like he was under the cosh that much.
No, not at all.
Greenberg and Bejarano Navia partnering up in holding midfield. And now Krim plays it back in a more advanced slot. And Jacob Krim has looked the most composed of the back line thus far for Stumptown. A bit of miscommunications otherwise, though. And ultimately, they managed to hold strong. You have to give them their props. And it's a hard adjustment, Robert. You talk about Martinez, the captain, going out, and Sharma comes in. Sharma has deputized well, given the circumstances.
Yeah, a couple of nervy moments, but by and large has held up.
Absolutely. Schneider with a few more white shirts surrounding him than he'd like. To Schalbad. And out of play for a Stumptown throw. And we're approaching the 60th minute, and you're starting to see Stumptown gaining more of an advantage here in the last 10.
Yeah, they're putting the pressure on. They're fighting fire with fire, so to speak. Trying to see if Michigan Stars FC can do something with the pressure of their own, and they've folded a little bit, as we've been alluding to over the last couple minutes.
Stumptown slowly growing into the match as we approach the final third of the NISA spring season. Stumptown looking to grab their 3rd straight win and go their 6th straight match unbeaten. And just a foul against the visitors.
Good to see Travis Ward making more of a nuisance of himself over the last couple of minutes, too.
Ward will launch that one forward for Garcia Sosa. The two of them have linked up numerous times over the last 2 weeks. And the little magician looking to carve out some space. Looking for Hines on the near side. Possession recycled temporarily by Greenberg and corralled again. Now Williams. Slowly building are the home side. McGrath. Garcia Sosa sliding in and out of the penalty area.
A little bit of heavy touch there from Reese Williams.
Williams trying to battle 2 red shirts and can't quite slither his way out of trouble there. But Stumptown again, finding their foothold and slowly potentially wearing down a visiting side that devoted so much energy to bagging that goal in the first half. And Robert, with the tide slowly turning out of your favor, what do you change? How do you adapt if you're Michigan Stars FC here?
Well, it might just be a bodies situation, like getting a sub in there and seeing if you can't get some fresh legs. Because if the goal is just to continue the defensive pressure, getting more people out there to hold that up is going to be super important. And because at some point there's going to be a concept of, like, maybe you try to pack it in and see if you can just play for the draw.
Mahano in an aerial duel there wins a free kick in a threatening position. About the same spot Stumptown conceded that wonder goal to Cesar Ramos Jr. Tuesday night.
Yeah, and the set-piece deliveries have been very good. This looks like it probably stands a chance to be more of a direct free kick from that distance. But the deliveries have been so good, you have to wonder if they're going to look to play some trickery or something along this at this point.
Looks like Newell and Reynolds currently standing over it. Can lightning strike twice for a visiting side here at the Sportsplex in the span of a week? Michigan Stars FC preparing a sub. Newell runs over it. Now Reynolds drills it and can't quite curl it low enough to beat Gonzalez at his near post.
Yeah, ultimately not the delivery you're looking for at that particular point. Hard to tell if Gonzalez would have had it covered either way, but didn't really trouble the goalkeeper there.
And a change for Michigan Stars FC, and it is an attacking one. It's going to be Alexander Satrustegi from Pamplona, Spain, is going to replace Andres Schalbaud. Schalbaud, more of a holding midfielder, hybrid defender. Satrustegi is going to go up top alongside Mahano. And the profile on him, he has not played actually since the LA Force game on June 5th, but he's got 3 goals to his name and scored in the 61st minute of that game on June 5th, as McGrath will win the ball and carry it out of trouble. And Robert, what can Satrustegi do to have success in this match?
Well, I mean, he certainly gives them another attacking option up top. So it kind of looks like Michigan Stars are going for this rather than sitting back and seeing if they can just hold out the 0-0 draw.
And Travis Ward looking to punish that decision as he charges through the center of midfield. Giovanni Bejarano Navia on the right side. Cross, back post, playing by Makovra. No opportunity taken there on the counter, but Stumptown again keeping them honest. And you mentioned, Robert, Michigan Stars FC. At this point, I think they realize that they're going to try to get a win.
Yeah.
They're playing for pride here, trying to beat one of the top-ranked sides in NISA, and they're still in this match, so they throw on Satrustegi.
And why not? You know, last game of the season. This is a what he got to lose kind of moment for Michigan Stars FC.
Absolutely.
Because the alternative is you don't go for it, and then you end up without an opportunity, or you end up losing because you didn't take the chance or something like that. So at this point, might as well go out and end this season knowing that you went after it 100%.
Certainly, Robert, and it reminds me a little bit of that Ted Lasso season finale. You don't play for a tie.
That's right.
Even though they did. And obviously in this matchup, the implications not quite as high.
No.
Michigan Stars FC not facing relegation, currently in last place, though, and looking to make a statement in their final match against a very, very solid Stumptown side. Yunkai, some step-overs on the left. Hines doesn't bite and clears it out of play. And resetting now is Abraham. Yunkai trying to whip it across. Deflected out of play by McGrath. And you're seeing Stumptown starting to minimize those deliveries into the box as well.
And it's a strong strategy given the amount of trouble they had with him in the first half.
Casanio Hall trying to pressure Makuvra. He's made one major mistake. It wasn't quite punished by McGrath after he intercepted, though. And now the ball, Ward tussling with Lubsiger. No whistle on either side. And Newell launching it in the direction of Satrustegi. Gonzalez with no trouble there. 66th minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. Sam Goldfarb, Robert Morrison, the analyst alongside you, bringing you a thrilling 0-0, I'd say. It's been very back and forth. There have been chances on either side. And while it's not quite the situation where both sides are peppering goals, Robert, they are creating intriguing half chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beginning of the match was very much both teams trying to figure out what the other were doing. Took Stumptown, admittedly, a little longer to kind of get wind of what Michigan Stars were up to. But the last, 15, 20 minutes or so, we've seen Stumptown kind of get with the program, so to speak, a little bit more and have a better read on what to do with this Michigan team.
Reynolds looking long for Satrustegi, the recent substitute, the first substitute for Michigan Stars FC tonight, and it's going to be ushered out for a goal kick.
Substitution being made for Stumptown.
Substitution coming for Stumptown. Agui Chunga going to enter for Luis Garcia Sosa. Very interesting change. Garcia Sosa seemed to be, of the attacking trio, the most involved consistently throughout the match. But Chunga making his 7th appearance of the year. Earlier in the year, he was battling for a starting spot, made back-to-back starts against New Amsterdam, and then kind of faded more out of the lineup. Did appear in stoppage time on Tuesday night, though.
Yeah, we'll see how he slots in. Immediately kind of looks like a like-for-like kind of move here, but definitely, again, in much the way that Michigan Stars were kind of going after it. Stumptown certainly not packing it in just yet.
And this could make for a very, very entertaining final 25 minutes-ish, as that ball is comfortably cleared by Amu Mensah, with both teams clearly going for it. They're leaving it all on the pitch here in the final match day of the season. And Robert, as we approach the closing 20 minutes, what are the implications of a game that on paper doesn't seem to really have that much of a drastic effect on either team?
Yeah, I think you want to end the season going out on a high note first and foremost. And also, the fall season is not that far away, right? Just a couple of weeks after this season ends and starting up in early August. So you want to get a feel for who your players are going to be moving forward.
McGrath charging down the right flank, and an awkward but successful claim from Makuvara. Sorry to cut you off there, Robert.
No problem. He kind of tipped that ball to himself. That could have spelled a lot of trouble there.
He playing volleyball out there.
Yeah, that's wrong sport there, guy. But good effort. Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, in a case like this where neither team has is looking at a playoff spot or anything like that, this is an opportunity to see who your players are and who your players are going to be moving forward as we head into the fall season. Like I said, starting in early August.
And you'd think this is an opportunity for both managers to kind of go into the bench, see who the key players will be heading forward. But in such a close match, you don't want to sacrifice your key players in a game that both sides clearly want to win.
Right, absolutely. I think under better circumstances, this would not be a close match from Stumptown's point of view. And you get an opportunity to see what your depth looks like. But they're in a fight here and don't have that opportunity to do that.
And Stumptown slowly growing into that fight as Greenberg looks long and Ward recycles. Travis Ward launches one off of Amu Mensah. They want a handball and they won't get one here at the Sportsplex. And Bejarano Navia doing his duties as a holding midfielder. But Mahano knocked over by McGrath for the foul. Whew. McGrath already on a yellow card.
Yeah, you better be real careful. He's been less than thrilled with the referee through much of the match. That Alex McGrath, I don't know how much of that is just frustration from the game or what, but
it has certainly been touch and go all night from that perspective.
For sure.
And it's been both ways, to be fair.
Yeah, I think so. It's been I think a well officiated match for the most part.
Absolutely. He's not over cautioning. It's certainly been a fair both ways, despite it being more touch and go than some players would like. Greenberg for Chunga. And Chunga grabbing his head after that challenge as McGrath strides away with it in the center of the park. To Ward. Chunga still down in midfield. And then Ward taking a heavy challenge from Abraham. Abraham will pick up a yellow for his trouble. Stumptown now with two players that look shaken up as Ward gets to his feet.
Yeah, that looked uncomfortable, to say the least, from Travis Ward. Let's see what happened here with Chunga. Just kind of tripped up and didn't look like he hit his head. But Alex McGrath, some nice moves there, and then kind of wonder if some of this was was Ward. Oh, well, maybe not. No, that
Ward took a shot.
that
Ward took a
knee.
shot. Yeah.
That knee was unfortunately placed. Let's just say that.
That's a stinger. Chunga up to his feet as well. So good to see both Stumptown players in good spirits at the moment, at least. But yes, both players good to continue, which is ideally what we'd like to see. Both taking some stingers, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ward looks like he's wide of this free kick. McGrath standing over it. And this could be an interesting position, a whip in a delivery. Ball has to be pretty well placed, though, given the verticality of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very straight on top of the goalkeeper, too, so it's going to have to be in a good position in that regard as well.
McGrath looks to meet that challenge, plays it to the back post, flick on from Hall, and Chunga riding the challenge from Abraham, who's playing a bit more carefully on that yellow. And once again, Stumptown looking to build from midfield. And Hall's flick on will just roll to the outstretched gloves of Makuvara.
It was an interesting flick. I'm not sure what the plan was there.
Possibly just mishit as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Very hard to time that ball in your head, I'd say.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't know. I can't head the ball myself.
No, for sure.
Looking for Sharma. Ultimately there, Satrustegi was not able to win the aerial duel. And Greenberg played on to Ward on the wing. Looking for Williams on the overlap, instead playing back to Krim. Stumptown building up slowly from the back, less pressure from that front line. You wonder if the substitution made along the front to put a fresh Satrustegi out there to press, but we haven't seen that.
No, it looks like they're more saving the energy for the attacking moments rather than pressing quite as hard as they were during the first 70 minutes of this match.
You wonder if that's a dangerous game with Stumptown progressively finding more of a foothold in this one. Ball played back to Makuvara and finding Reynolds. And now Mahano looking deep for Yunkai on the overlap and finds him. Now cross, back post, Satrustegi can't quite get to it. And Krim will team up with Sharma to boot it long. Recycled, though, by Lobsiger and Newell. And Newell ultimately just rolls it out of play as we approach the final 15.
Lobsinger has been much quieter during this second half. I've barely said his name at all. So whether or not it's a neutralization on Stumptown's part or just Michigan Stars FC unable to get him the ball, it's been quieter on that side for sure.
We haven't seen Newell as much either. Newell, actually, we've called him a bit more than Lobsiger, but potentially Stumptown also just possessing the ball more, applying more pressure. They haven't been able to drive it as far to the right as they've wanted to. As Reynolds launches it back to Newell. The captain and leading goal scorer with the cross. Krim stands it up well. And Williams seeking to navigate out of trouble. Friday night here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Still beautiful. One of the longer nights of the year here in North Carolina. And Williams comes off a little worse for wear. The ball played through to Ward, to McGrath on the near side, and Makuvara wins the foot race.
Ooh, that looks like a pretty high boot on that far side there. Williams looks a little perturbed that there was no call there. I understand playing the advantage, and obviously there was an opportunity there, but that seemed a little dangerous on that side.
Yeah, and they won't pull it back. No card delivered. Robert, I agree with you. And a foul now in the center of the park against Ward, who has some choice words for the official. A substitution coming for the visitors. It's going to be Bryant Nardizzi entering for Mahano. And you have to admire the effort from Bernardo Mahano, making his third start of the year.
He's putting a shift for sure. The pressure that he's put on, and also just kind of pulling the strings up front there as well.
And Nardizzi entering the fray here. We wonder if he will be up top. It looks like they are moving him further forward, and a free kick set to be taken at the moment. Nardizzi with his third appearance, all off the bench for Michigan Stars FC this year, as the cross played out of bounds and a goal kick coming. 2 apps. He actually went over 2 months without playing for Michigan Stars FC. Made his first appearance 10 minutes off the bench in the Legends Cup opener against 1904 FC, and then on Saturday actually played against Maryland Bobcats. So second straight appearance today. Stumptown. '78th minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC knotted at 0-0 still. The last 0-0 draw, actually, June 5th for Stumptown against Detroit City FC on the road in front of a very hostile crowd. But it was, again, very similar. A lively 0-0. It wasn't dull.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a real chance from either side, though, so you got to think that somebody's going to want to break this up. Oh.
Chunga plays to Hall, looking wide for McGrath, and the ball just outside his reach.
It's a little too much there from Hall.
McGrath believes there was a deflection. The official on the near side doesn't quite concur. And Stumptown, if the first half was won by Michigan Stars, I'd say the second half has been more controlled by the home side. But again, nothing to show for either side's efforts yet. Hines for McGrath. Good link with Bejarano Navia, and some decent one-touch football from Stumptown.
There's an offside call, I think, on this.
Yes, I believe the linesman had the flag up. And ultimately a free kick for Michigan Stars FC. Just looking at NISA, this is the only game being played tonight. Stumptown's second game in the span of a week. Actually, if you were to count Tuesday, it'd be the third in the span of about 8-9 days. Chunga holding up against Amu Mensah. Had the best chance of the match for Michigan Stars. And Schneider. Bejarano Navia taking advantage of the heavy touch, and now Chunga in space, looking down the line for Hall. Looking frustrated as it rolls to Makuvra.
It's been kind of the story of the final portion of the final third there for Stumptown over the second half, really getting very close, and then that final pass just kind of lets them down.
Absolutely. For sure, it has certainly been a situation where neither side has been able to really find that final ball, and you've had a couple of big chances on either side. Of course, the biggest from that corner late in the first half. But again, Robert, neither side able to find the back of the net, and you wonder, can someone break the deadlock? Stumptown will certainly try, as Chunga winning a throw on the far side.
That was clever there from Ward to take advantage of the ball sitting on the sideline and just go ahead and play it in.
For sure, you catch them off guard a little bit, and looks like Michigan Stars is some good passing triangles at the moment as Yunkai trying to find Satrustegu, maybe mistimed his jump just a skitch. And Gonzalez will have no trouble collecting.
Really impressed with Dylan Greenberg out there. He's running around a lot, and a lot has been asked of him, both defensively and offensively, and he's making a lot of effort out there.
And Greenberg's a guy who hadn't made an appearance in a considerable period of time before getting the start against Chattanooga, now making his third straight start. So clearly has impressed Rod Underwood as well.
Well, the energy's there, and a lot of times in this case, that's what you need, just energetic runners in the middle of the park.
And part of the reason you have to figure why Stumptown's been so tough to break down is the fact that they changed things up so much tactically. Dylan Greenberg, a guy who barely played all year, makes a start against Chattanooga and becomes a fixture in the side by the end of the year. So they're constantly tweaking formations, tweaking personnel. And yeah, you'll have the constants in McGrath, Garcia, Sosa, and Ward, but that's about it.
Yeah, and the flexibility can be very helpful from the point of view of Underwood and the rest of the staff for Stumptown as well. Because if you have a situation like you did at the beginning of this match where you have an injury very early on, to be able to trust that you can have somebody who can step in is super helpful in that regard.
And Sharma is the man who's had to step in, and he's slowly grown more comfortable, you can see out there. You mentioned the miscommunications, and that's obviously going to be tough to adapt to, Robert, but we have to say he's definitely managed to find a foothold in center back and been more comfortable of late.
Yeah, the second half has been better, not just from Stumptown, but in that case as well.
Sharma finding Ward, who comes deep to collect and surges past Satru Stig. Reese Williams now on the far side, trying to find Chunga running down the line. Early cross deflected, and Newell has it in space now. Stumptown has really owned the ball in Michigan Star's half, as that long ball for Yunkai just took a heavy touch. Could have really threatened Gonzalez's goal.
That would have definitely been a problem.
And now Bejarano Navia looking long. Schneider does well to win the header.
Very up and down last couple of minutes here. Both teams sensing the pressure of the last 10 or so minutes of this match.
Both sides emptying the tank as the fans at the Sportsplex start to raise the volume. Ward playing over to Williams, who's seen his effect going forward a bit more blunted in the second half. And Sharma trying to spray it to Hines. It's unfortunately a bit overhit. 84th minute here on the 11 Sports Network. The National Independent Soccer Association final match day. Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC level at 0-0. Sam Goldfarb, Robert Morrison here to bring you the last 6 minutes and change. And Robert, what needs to change from Stumptown if they're going to grab a winner? Because they certainly look more comfortable. Excuse me, I will ask that question later as Nardizzi tries to find an opportunity for Abraham.
Of the ball, right? Both teams getting that second to last pass good and right, and then the last one just doesn't go anywhere. And I think that's been true for Stumptown and for Michigan Stars tonight.
And you see them take Garcia Sosa off, bring Chunga on. Maybe they think Chunga will be a guy who can kind of surge into chances more. Garcia Sosa is somebody who kind of creates chances through build-up, so maybe there's that.
Yeah, and you've seen Chunga do that in just the short amount of time he's been on the pitch. Just some opportunities that he'd had to move forward. As we see this kind of awkward moment here that has sent the Michigan Stars man to the ground. Looks like he took an inadvertent hand to the face.
Yunkai and Bejarano Navia getting into it along the touchline. And a goal kick ultimately for Stumptown as we approach the 85th minute. Stumptown thrilled to be partnered with the Marco Echeverri Soccer Academy. Marco Echeverri, MLS legend, getting his roots down in the Charlotte area. Stumptown thrilled to have him on the training kits and his academy there.
Yeah, those are cool shirts. We were trying to figure out what they were as we were sitting up here in the booth while they were getting warmed up, but cool opportunity for the team to build up a following in the Charlotte community.
Ward plays it back to Hines. Can't quite distribute it in the direction of McGrath, but recycled by Greenberg, a player that has made Roberts A-list tonight.
Absolutely. Certainly been all over the pitch tonight, and like to see what he can do to help push the offense forward at this point.
And he will see if one of his interceptions or flick-alongs can lead Stumptown to the winner. High drama potentially approaching here at the Sportsplex at Matthews as the sun begins to set and the lights begin to come on. Stumptown certainly hoping the LA Force can acquire some lights at their stadium. And Nardizzi curls that one toward the back post. No trouble for Gonzalez. For those of you who don't know what we're referencing, LA Force clinched against New Amsterdam last week because the game got canceled in the 62nd minute when it was too dark to finish the game. So they just called it a LA Force victory because they were up on the scoreline.
Sounds like playing on your street when you were a little kid. Oh, it's dark. Got to stop.
Absolutely. And Stumptown, of course, would have had to win out, and this game would have been the crucial turning point. So even as the scoreline lies right now, as McGrath just charges into Makuvara there, it wouldn't have been enough. But
it looks like we got some cramping going on maybe here in the box. Not a doctor, not prescribing anything, but based on what's going on, looks like there's some stretching happening in there. And even Greenberg over here in the center for Stumptown. That's interesting.
Took his shin guards off.
Yeah, he's got his shin guards off. He's done.
It looks like Newell. Now he's putting it back in.
Yeah.
It looks like Newell was just down. They needed to stretch him out a little bit.
Yep. Greenberg was looking uncomfortable there for a few moments, but he seems to be walking it off, whatever that is.
And Greenberg has been a major piece for Stumptown. He's played 90 minutes in back-to-back matchups after hardly playing at any point prior. He's now gone almost a full 90 here tonight. 3 90-minute matches in the span of 10 days will certainly get you.
I would imagine so. I don't think I could make it 90 seconds out there, so.
I think I'd get subbed off.
Yeah.
I think that would be
sure.
my problem.
Sure, yeah.
I don't think I have the tactical awareness of Sean Sharma
That's why
or Jacob Krim out there at center back.
That's right. That's why we're up here talking about it.
And now Williams looking to build on the far side. Stumptown approaching the dying embers of this one. Still level at 0-0. Can either side grab a winner? Casanio Hall flick on. Can't quite find Chunga. And Amu Mensah will play it only as far as Williams. That ball out of play for a Michigan Stars throw. Williams displeased with the linesman.
I'd say that's accurate. Displeased.
Yes. Just got to find synonyms for that.
That's right.
And Newell battling for it. Abraham wreaking havoc in the center of the park at the moment. Doing well to carve out some space, and now Reynolds dinking it down the line for Newell. Michigan Stars squared back for Satoru Stegi and deflected out for a corner. Robert, tell me what you saw there.
Ooh, that was a nice flick on there by Reynolds, or a nice ball in there by Reynolds, and the pass there to set up the shot. Jacob Krim saving the day there for, here we go, we'll see the back pass. Whew, that was a dangerous moment. Krim stepping in at the last moment to get that ball out of play.
Good pullback cross and a corner coming. Near post, flicked by Newell, and now played back out to Junkai. And doing well to deflect that
nice
one
catch
out of
in the
play
stands.
McGrath. The supporters getting involved here.
I don't think that throw counts, unfortunately.
And 4 minutes will be added onto the clock. Stumptown and Michigan Stars with a bit more time to potentially break this deadlock and secure all 3 points.
Well, this would certainly be dramatic if someone scored at this particular juncture, yeah?
Absolutely. Neither side has really had a last-minute winner in their favor this year. And Hines trying to find Chunga with the crossfield ball. Adu to Lobsiger. Being double-teamed by McGrath and Greenberg, but going to win a throw nonetheless. 3.5 minutes remain on the stoppage time clock. Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC in the final spell of the 2021 spring season. Both teams just playing to end this season on a high note. No playoff aspirations at stake for either side. And we approach the 92nd minute. McGrath gets a boot to it and now wins the loose ball. Dribbles through traffic and finds Agui Chunga on the left. Stumptown surging men forward. McGrath knocked over. The ref doesn't play advantage. And Williams trying to find some room on the wing. Knocked over. Free kick coming for Stumptown. The 92nd minute. Reese Williams winning a free kick for the home side.
Good dangerous opportunity here from this position for Stumptown to get in a good free kick. You see some good footwork here from Reese Williams, and ultimately Newell couldn't get out of the way, and you can't do that.
Newell squared him up right on the outside of the penalty area. McGrath and Ward speaking to the official, as is Newell. And Alex McGrath is the lone man standing over this free kick. Now Travis Ward running over to have a conversation with him. Stumptown potentially with their last major opportunity of the game from a set piece. 0-0. Alex McGrath. His delivery is low. Was looking for Travis Ward, and a good job by Junkai to get a boot in the way. And a goal kick coming. Quite anticlimactic there.
I got to say, that was a disappointing delivery from Alex McGrath. Got to wonder about the tired legs at this juncture, and just playing 90 minutes on Tuesday night and having to come in that big moment. But that was not the delivery you're looking for if you're Stumptown.
You have to wonder if it was potentially some sort of training ground design. Obviously, it was directed towards Ward, and they were having a conversation before the free kick. But regardless, did not threaten Makuvara in net by any stretch of the imagination. Final minute of stoppage time. Casanio Hall heads it out of play. And Michigan Stars FC may be the last ones with an actual chance to change the outcome here. The 11 Sports Network and the National Independent Soccer Association season winding to a close here in the spring of 2021. Headed out of play. And Hines running over to claim the ball, but a throw coming for Schneider and the Michigan Stars FC. 93 and a half minutes gone on the clock. Ward wins the ball, cleared only as far as Abraham. And now Adu and McGrath clatter into one another. The waning final seconds tick off the clock as we approach the 94th minute. And the referee has blown her whistle. Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC finish in a hard-fought back-and-forth draw here at the Sportsplex at Matthews in front of a very good crowd. Stumptown was largely actually bossed in the first half. Michigan Stars FC with a big chance, and Amu Mensah almost broke the deadlock in the 44th. Then Stumptown gained a foothold, controlled the second, and ultimately it ends in a 0-0 affair. Robert, what can you say really stood out to you in this matchup, and what can both sides take away heading into the 2021 fall season, which starts up in early August?
Yeah, I thought it was a good response from Stumptown. As you said, they were very much not in control of the first half of this match. So to see them come out and take more control of the second half was a good sign. You like to see a more clinical nature in front of goal. Maybe slowing down the pace a little bit to take better opportunities and really, as we were talking about all the way at the beginning of the match, really take advantage of the opportunities to score. And ultimately, as you're heading into the fall season, hopefully the good news is that the fixtures may not come as hard and fast as they have over the last, as you said, like 10 days or so, which would be really helpful. I think the fitness was certainly an issue at the end of this one after having played 90 minutes not very long ago. But there's something to build on here with this Stumptown team, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for us in the fall.
For sure, Robert. This is a Stumptown team that got together in April, and you saw the progress over the course of the season becoming a cohesive unit as Agui Chunga and fellow Stumptown players thank the Stumptown supporters. Stumptown finishes the year on 15 points, 4 wins, 3 draws, and a loss for third place in the NISA table. A decent showing for a side that literally, as we mentioned, got together about 2.5 months ago. Meanwhile, Michigan Stars, with the draw, they move up to 8th. They're going to finish with 5 points, 1 win, 2 draws, and 5 losses. They end their 3-game pointless streak. Stumptown finishing the year 6 games unbeaten. The fall season begins for Stumptown on August 7th, playing Chattanooga FC before returning home to play Chicago House AC, an expansion club. Robert, any last words you have to say to the fans here on the National Independent Sports Network and 11 Sports?
Yeah,
Network?
just glad to be back for this match. Looking forward to hopefully being with everybody through the whole fall season and beyond. As this new program here in the Charlotte area hopes to kick off and build a following, as we've seen as this place has been as full as it's been all season tonight.
Stumptown AC and Michigan Stars FC finish at 0-0 here, the National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. We'd like to thank, before we go off air, LEMG, Live Events Media Group, for all of the video coverage. They do a great job, and we've been thrilled to work with them all year. For Sam Goldfarb and Robert Morrison here on the 11 Sports Network, where the score has finished Stumptown AC 0, Michigan Stars FC 0. Thank you all for tuning in. We will hopefully see you in mid-August when Stumptown squares off against Chicago House.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we will see you in a couple months.
And happy birthday to Sam. Happy 21st birthday to Sam.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.